Welcome to Amberger's Smackdown at todaysfinancialnews.com. I'm J. Christoph Amberger. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. This observation was first made by George Santayana in his Life of Reason back in 1905. Popular wisdom translates this as meaning that studying history is necessary to avoid repeating past mistakes. A noble sentiment, worthy of history teachers and college sophomores. Of course, Santayana says nothing about studying, he mentions remembering, and he doesn't mention history either, but the past. Probably with good reason, because history is an artifact of the past, a retroactive ordering of events and establishing of causalities that can end up looking quite different depending on who is doing the ordering. Anyone who browsed through a history of the imperialist United States published by East Germany's communist-run history mill, or has blamed the writings of dead white males for the ills of the world, will agree with me on that. But let's assume that the past is indeed the same as history. Is history then merely a Sunday school book of edifying tales designed to illustrate consequences in moralist terms of right and wrong, or correct answer and error? Events in the past are not morality plays. They did not happen to edify and straighten out the directionless in the present. They're the products, not sums, of hundreds, if not thousands, of major and minuscule confluences of circumstance, environment, and individual action. Individuals themselves are the products of unique conditions and absolutely one-of-a-kind constellations of personal experience and personal influences. Multiply the possible scenarios with the number of individuals involved, and you have to arrive at the conclusion that each event we consider historical is indeed absolutely unique. What generalities can you distill from unique events? Studying the history of the 20th century, for example, you could have arrived at the conclusion that the destructions of a country's infrastructure, its military defeat and subsequent reconstruction establishes prosperity, peace and democracy in at least half of that country. Look at West Germany, Japan, South Korea. Oddly enough, it hasn't quite worked out that way in Iraq. Maybe those in charge didn't study the right kind of history. Other than in political and cultural histories, the limitations of factors involved allows for greater predictability when it comes to our economic past. The history of prices, of money supply, the laws of supply and demand allows to introduce math and science into the analysis, two disciplines usually not eagerly embraced by historians. Analyzing mathematical abstractions of facts created by the past allows us to detect patterns and use patterns to make forecasts that can be empirically tested and analyzed. It has a decent track record on the scale of the global economy, and it can be tested again and again on a microeconomic level in technical stock analysis, which makes financial history a discipline that indeed can tell us about what desirable or undesirable outcomes we might expect when looking for future guidance. How odd is it then that in this day and age politicians are once again dusting off economic and fiscal concepts, proving wrong time and time again over the course of the century? Of course, you can only realize that when you remember the past. And still, you may be doomed to repeat it. For todaysfinancialnews.com, I'm J. Christoph Amberger.
Prices could realistically get as high as $73 to $74 a barrel this summer.